The Communist Party Congress is in full swing in Beijing, and Chinese stocks are up. That was Premier Li Keqiang vows to support economic growth. He made the remarks at the ongoing Congress, and just a day after China delayed the release of economic indicators scheduled for publication this week, including the country's third quarter GDP data. Investors are closely watching the Congress, where the party's General Secretary Xi Jinping is expected to be handed a third term in office. Now, despite government leaders stressing that things are looking up, Chinese economic growth has recently faltered. For a long-term boost, state and party leader Xi Jinping is relying on domestic consumption. However, there is a problem. China's population is aging. Last year, roughly 18% of the population were younger than 14, and 13% were older than 65. Now, the United Nations are expecting a significant shift by the year 2050. By then, according to a new study, only 11% of the Chinese will be under 14, and seniors over 65 will make up a full third of the nation's population. Now, for some more insight, let's bring in Valerie Tan. She's an analyst at the Mercator Institute for China Studies. Welcome to DW, Valerie. After decades of a one-child policy, the Communist Party is advising or allowing families to have 3 children now. Why is China's birth rate still one of the lowest in the world, though?
I think there are many reasons for this, and one of the key reasons that we should really highlight in light of the party congress going on in Beijing right now is the lack of women representation in Chinese elite politics. When you don't have enough women within who are represented in government, then women's issues, such as relating to birth rates, such as relating to gender equality, are not represented in policy documents. And that is why one of the key reasons underlying this is that on the ground, then women in China feel economically and socially insecure, and they don't see the need to have more than one or have any children at all.
So, despite state and party leader Xi Jinping saying his country will establish a policy system to boost birth rates, I mean, there have been measures like tax deductions, longer maternity leave, enhanced medical insurance. All these things have put in place. They're not showing a real impact, are they?
Well, you can't just simply throw money at a problem and expect people to rush to the hospitals or have kids at home. The issue really is more than just about money and financial support. Sure, those are important things as well, but there are real structural issues on the ground that have not been resolved. If you realize that in the past year, we have been hearing a spate of high-profile cases where there's violence, harassment, and domestic abuse cases really coming up to the surface in China. Those issues and those cases really reflect the lack of enforcement to protect women. When women don't feel secure in society, when they don't feel economically secure, then they don't see the point, like I said earlier, about having children, because their children won't feel safe in an environment, in that environment, that is.
What impact is this demographic trend having on economic growth?
Well, we are about to witness a demographic crisis in China, as highlighted by the United Nations, as highlighted by the population planning authorities within China as well. And one key thing that we would like to highlight here as well is that the population planning department in China is releasing a survey with results about how women and how families feel about having children. So that's one thing to watch. But in the longer term, this means productivity and production and manufacturing will take a hit, because in the global competition for talents, when you have an aging population, people are asked to work longer, and at older age, they're forced to retire. That is not something that the Chinese society will be able to accept. And also, will the younger generation, will we see more people be able to take on more jobs? And This is a big transition and adjustment for China right now.
Valerie, at the same time, one could argue that countries like Japan, like Germany, they're also facing an aging population, but there hasn't been a real letdown in growth when it comes to this matter.
Yeah, so I think that is something that China has also been watching and drawing lessons from. So that is why you see the government investing a lot in robotics, automation, autonomous cars, trying to really automate processes that used to be done by humans. But at the same time, then you also look at social policies. Is there enough of a social welfare net to support the aging population? Because if you don't have enough resources to do that, that is greater financial pressure on families who are mostly one child, right? Greater financial pressure for them to support their elder parents, their grandparents, and their in-laws. Then that means a lower capacity for them to consume and spend.
Right. Valerie Tan of the Mercator Institute for China Studies. Valerie, thank you.